I'm losing it. I'm losing it. I'm freaking out. I cannot.
Just breathe with me. In through your nose. Hold.
Why aren't you scratching behind my ears? That's what I like. There
Okay.
we go.
Oh, there. That's a good Jono.
Yes. Mended light. You know what I appreciate most about our marriage?
What?
It's been pretty easygoing and not a lot of stress. That's so funny.
You're so funny.
Hilarious. I'm hilarious.
How'd you get to be so funny?
Okay, so let's talk about how we have managed our stress as a couple, because we've had a lot. We've had a lot in our relationship.
Why are you so stressful?
As you guys
be
watching
married
these
to?
videos, our differences have been stressful. Raising children has been stressful. Parenting, in particular, certain children for certain reasons is very stressful. We've had financial lean times. We've had frustrations romantically. We've had all sorts of. And then I'm growing older. You're not. That's stressful.
We just dye your hair.
I don't want to dye my hair. My gray makes you look distinguished. So how do we manage?
How do you manage?
First thing is to manage your own stress, because your partner's not going to be your end all be all for everything as much as
Your partner's not your solution.
No. I mean, sometimes. I mean, we're there for each other and we support each other, and there are ways that you can be each other's solution, but you can't be each other's solution all the time.
You can be each other's support.
Yeah.
It's the difference between you complete me and you supplement me.
Yes. One is romantic but non-functional, and the other is about as romantic as Ben Stein.
Bueller.
So, meeting your own needs, what are some things you do for stress reduction? What helps you?
I recharge by being by myself. So I go out paddleboarding on the lake, I read a book, I sit in a hammock, I do my yoga, I do breath work.
Yeah.
I do all sorts of things. Most of them involve being by myself. And this last week, my daughter saw that I was in my swimsuit, and she's like, "Oh, are you going paddleboarding?" And I said, "Yeah, I am." And she goes, "Oh, can I come with you?" And I said, "No." And she just looked at me like, "What?" And I said, "I need some time alone right now." And she goes, "I promise I won't talk to you." Some of our other children, not as considerate. She's naturally very considerate. And I said, "I understand that you would come with me and you wouldn't talk to me." I said, "But if you come, then your brothers want to come. And they will talk to me. And then I have to explain to them why I'm letting you come and not them come. So I just really need to be alone right now."
Yeah.
And she goes, "Okay."
And she was cool with it. It's such great modeling. For me, it's watching a good movie, reading a good book, going for a drive and just listening to music and singing along. I'm the person that when you pull up next to them, they are just completely on American Idol in their own brain. You've seen those people. I'm that person. Lifting weights. These are things that I do, and the great thing about it is we support each other in that. Like when you need a day, you know, when you need time, I'm like, "Okay, I got it." Or when I get up early and I say, "I'm going to the gym," like I need you to hold down the fort. Like we've got each other's backs on that because.
Right. And once again, there's times and seasons. Like the amount of time I can spend alone is drastically, significantly more than the amount of time I could spend alone 10 years ago. 10 years ago, it looked like locking myself in the bathroom and eating a piece of chocolate and rocking back and forth for 5 minutes because I needed a break. And it might only be 5 minutes.
But it's my 5 minutes.
It's my 5 minutes. And at that stage in our life is when we instituted, like, what was it, Friday night? You did movie night and pizza and whatever with the kids. Like
Friday night was Mom's night to do whatever she was going to do. And
yeah, so it was a certain time. I clocked out. It didn't matter. I didn't necessarily tell you when I was going to be home. Like, I just left. And it didn't, nothing mattered. I just left, and it was going to be fine. And it is so crucial when you are the caretaker 24/7 practically for a bunch of small children.
Yeah. So there are individual things, and then there are couples rituals. There are things that you do as a couple, and it's good to be mindful and to create these together.
Stress relieving rituals as a couple. And for it to be a ritual, it needs to be consistent.
Yes. So John Gottman talks about stress-reducing conversations in his book, 7 Principles for Making Marriage Work, where you spend 5, 10, 15 minutes a day talking about the stressors of the day. And if the stressors of the day are your marriage, then they don't take place during this conversation. They can be a separate conversation. Because the purpose of this is to be there for one another and to help ease the stress. And if there's stressors in the marriage, talking about them, at least in the moment, can be more stressful. Right? Until you work them through. So that's not what this is for. But just listening, empathizing, looking for solutions together if that's appropriate.
And if you're a closer, don't rush to solutions.
Yes.
Because if they're a healer or a dreamer or even a thinker, they just might want to talk it out.
They want to be heard.
They want to be heard. They want to be seen. They want to be understood. They want to be empathized. Because when you're a closer, you're like, oh, well, we're looking for solutions. And so let me help you find solutions to this problem.
I remember one time you were telling me something you were going through, and I'm like, that sounds so hard. I'm so sorry. You don't deserve that. And you said, I don't need your empathy. I need solutions. And I'm like, oh, okay. And then I had to change gears.
And in reverse, you were telling me about a problem, and I started offering solutions, and you said, I can figure out my own problems. Like, I just need you to hear me right now. I just need you to listen. And so you have a good saying for closers to help them be active listeners.
Well, if you're a closer, generally you want to fix the problem, and that's okay. Like your fixing energy comes from a good place. Someone you love is struggling and you want to make it right. You just need to direct that fixing energy towards the right thing. In other words, you think the problem to be fixed is whatever your partner is telling you about. When in actuality, the problem to be fixed is they feel upset. And if you hear them and empathize with them and validate them, then they feel heard and they feel better, and you have fixed that problem. And they will likely go on to fix whatever the presenting problem was on their own, or they'll be open to your solutions. But if you try and fix whatever they're telling you about, you're not fixing the right thing. You need to fix that the person you're talking to is upset, and you do that by listening and validating. So we have some stress-relieving rituals in our marriage.
Indeed.
I'm leaning more into meaningful conversations because that is Alicia's major way of connection and communication.
I'm a very purpose-driven person.
Yes. And for me, stress relief is the opposite of purpose. It's detaching, right? It's zoning out or no, I don't really zone out. It's immersing myself in a world that's not my own, right? For a little bit. And so I love movies and TV shows and things like that. And so what we have done a lot, because you need foot massages, and
I need them. It's a need.
Well, you need foot massages, and I need shows. And so we watch shows together. I'll rub your feet. We'll get Mexican food or ice cream, which is a mutual need.
Yeah.
And it helps, and it helps you to fall asleep because your brain is racing so much that a foot rub and a show that you don't really care about, like you only have to pay attention to, and then you'll fall asleep, right? And so that's stress relieving for us. For you watching, what are your rituals, right?
So seek and create those stress relieving rituals together.
Yes. And it can be, like in our case, we found something that was middle ground. Like your wants and needs, my wants and needs, we combined them. And it's still evolving. It's still growing. You don't need to just have one tool in your tool belt. In fact, just last night, Alicia was telling me, listen, watching a show with a foot massage is great. Like I have no problem with that. It's a great thing. But it seems to be like what we're leaning into almost all of the time. And I have this need just to connect with you on a meaningful, purposeful level. And that helps me to relieve stress. And this is not the first time she's told me this, but it is the first time that I'm really hearing and saying, yeah, I need to step into that more. And so it's always evolving. It's always growing.
So in your relationship, what needs are not being met?
Yeah.
And what are creative solutions to meeting those needs? Could look like drastically different things, right?
Yeah.
You could need to acquire new skills, relationship skills that you don't have. I never learned healthy conflict resolution skills. That wasn't a part of my environment. Like you might need support in that area, and there's nothing wrong with that. You can watch Mended Light.
You can watch Mended Light videos.
To learn new skills.
What do you mean?
You know, like nunchuck skills, bow hunting skills, computer hacking skills.
You can join the membership if that's what you need. Maybe you need some time together. Get a babysitter, right?
Watch our videos and rub each other's feet.
Getting yourself the support you need, right? When our kids were littler, I was raised with the value that if you have the privilege of having something, you have the privilege of taking care of it, right? And that is a wonderful character developing perspective. And I had 3 little kids. No one could do housework. I was living in a much bigger house than I would have wanted to live in. And I know that sounds like an odd problem to have, but it's true. I'm just not much of a stuff person, just dynamics. That is what was going on in our life. And I was cleaning all the bathrooms and the kitchen and the floors, and like so much energy and so much effort. And this phrase, if you have the privilege of having something, you have the privilege of taking care of it. And that is a lovely perspective. And I thought to myself, I know how to clean a bathroom.
Yeah.
I know how to clean a kitchen. I know how to mop floors. I need some help, damn it. And I hired a cleaner for the amount of time that I could afford to do the most important parts. I don't need to do that anymore. I have enough children to clean my house.
An army of little cleaners. And the skills don't necessarily have to be relationship skills that you are learning, because the fact is, we're talking about life stressors. If there's stressors in business, learning new skills, getting coaching, getting support. If there's stressors at home, learning new skills at home. I mean, I'm learning just a little bit at a time some handyman skills and how to fix things. And we live in a glorious age. There are times where I would ask you, how do I do this? And you say, look it up on YouTube. And I'd say, oh, we live in a glorious age where you can look up on YouTube how to do...
You've heard of that.
I've heard of YouTube, how to do almost anything. And so we live in a wonderful time. And the more I step into that type of thing, it's good for our relationship. Finding creative solutions is a major win. The best way to alleviate stress is to eliminate the stressor or to deal with the stressor when it can be. Other times it's okay, this stressor can't be eliminated, so what new skills can I learn to
reduce it?
To reduce or to cope with it better or to manage it better.
And
right?
what's one small step in the direction I want to be moving?
Yes.
Because sometimes where maybe there's a canyon in between where we're at and where we want to be, we feel like we've got to leap the canyon. And it's so large and we don't know how to do it. And I think that's something you relate to a lot in our different skills of strengths. You're like, well, Alicia's so much better at all household things or all maintenance or all construction or all fixing things.
Yeah.
And I said, no, you can learn things too.
Yeah. Well, and I tell this to people in therapy, everything that you're good at one point in time, you weren't. And you didn't know how to do it and you learned. So don't undersell your ability to learn things.
You just need to believe in yourself. Woo!
In our relationship, if you've been following these marriage problems videos, you've seen a lot of our dynamic, a lot of the things that we've struggled with that have caused us a lot of heartache and a lot of stress. In our case, moving through those things involved, yes, finding creative solutions, but even before that, having the hard conversations. And having the hard conversations takes courage, it takes accountability, it takes vulnerability, it takes mutual respect, and it takes action steps, right? Taking action to make things better. We are in a better place now than we were a couple of years ago. And that has come in large part because, this is what therapy is. This is what couples therapy is. The things that you avoid, facing them head on and facing them in a constructive way.
Yeah, well, and facing them with love and compassion and understanding, right? So often we face our insecurities or the things we judge ourselves harshly for with judgment, with shame, with guilt, and so facing them with love and compassion and understanding. And the more we do that for ourselves, the more we're actually able to do that for other people. So I was reading this book. Well, we were reading this book. You Can Be Happy No Matter What.
Yes.
And there was a concept in there that I had never heard of, but I immediately completely resonated with, which was the stress in your life will always be in direct proportion to your ability to carry that stress.
Right.
And in that moment, I realized that for years and years and even decades, I had been increasing my ability
Your stress tolerance.
Yeah, my stress tolerance. I was increasing my ability to handle stress. And I just thought, well, if I just had a little bit more capacity, then this wouldn't be so stressful.
But the stress will fill the volume.
Yeah, every time my capacity increased, I allowed my stress to get to that point.
Yeah.
And I just thought, I don't want to do that anymore. I don't want to continue increasing my capacity to carry stress. And, you could nuance that out and really get into it and debate some of those parts. But I just thought, am I capable of carrying a lot of stress? Yes, I am. Is that the kind of life I want to create anymore?
Right.
No, it's not.
So he says the solution is to decrease your stress tolerance.
Yeah.
It's not about like you're saying, it's not about your capacity. It's about what you're willing to tolerate.
Yeah.
And to not make room in your life for more stress, and to make changes to minimize your stress, make decisions of what you're going to commit to, what you're not going to commit to, what you're going to agree to and what you're not going to agree to, and what things you're going to delegate or eliminate, and what things you're actually going to focus on, because you only have so much bandwidth.
Yeah.
So this has been how we deal with stress in our relationship, or at least a little bit of it. What's worked for you? Let us know in the comments below. And what are you wrestling with? And when it comes to this, what is your single greatest challenge when it comes to managing stress in your partnership? If you enjoyed this video, check out our entire Marriage Problems series. And until next time, folks, keep shining. We need your light.